Good afternoon, YouTube. Today I would just like to do a brief video on the attack of the American embassy and the Americans under Trump responding by essentially taking out a very grave threat in Iran, the Iranian General Soleimani. So I just want to open with the interview in Fox News with Senator Lindsey Graham, and then I'll make some comments. Thank you very much for watching.
Member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he doesn't need notes to know what Soleimani has done to Americans in the past. Sir, first off, Senator, how significant is this move, and what has Soleimani done in the past to Americans that you've seen?
Well, he's killed, the cone-shaped IEDs that killed over 600 Americans came from Iran. How significant is this? We killed the most powerful man in Iran, short of the Ayatollah. He was the right fist of the Ayatollah, and we took the Ayatollah's arm off. But this is not an act of revenge for what he's done in the past. This was a preemptive defensive strike planned to take out the organizer of attacks yet to come. The intelligence was very strong that Soleimani was orchestrating chaos in Iraq at our expense and throughout the region. The president was informed of these potential attacks, and he acted. This was a defensive strike to neutralize future attacks that were being planned and executed by Soleimani and the Popular Mobilization Front, the Shiite militias in Iraq.
All right, so Senator, it was preemptive because bad things were coming, the American government believed. The worry now is the retaliation because the Iranians have pledged a crushing response. You say if they mess around with this, next stop, their oil fields, right?
Well, what I'm trying to do is create deterrence. So this was a preemptive attack to let everybody in the world know, from North Korea, just anybody else, that if you come after Americans on President Trump's watch, you do so at your peril. All the things that Soleimani had done in the past were real, but he's not dead today because of what he did in the past. He's dead today because he miscalculated what President Trump would do regarding future attacks. So what are they thinking about in Tehran right now? Revenge. What are they thinking about inside Iraq? All of these Shiite militias are going to have 3 days of mourning. What kind of command and control do they have regarding Tehran? Mm-hmm. Who makes the decisions to strike, and what kind of strikes are they contemplating? How would you stop retaliation through deterrence? What's the one thing that the regime can't afford to lose?
Oil.
The ability to refine oil.
Yeah.
So what President Trump has done is up the ante as high as you can up it. He's killed the most consequential military leader in Iran. He's killed the guy who's spreading terror throughout the world. When you say that Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism, the question is who leads that effort? It was Soleimani. They will not let this go unanswered.
Yes,
so
Senator,
here's what
Senator, have you spoken to the president? Is this what he's thinking, or is this what you're thinking?
Well, this is what I'm thinking. I was briefed about the potential operation when I was down in Florida. I appreciate being brought into the orbit. I really appreciate President Trump letting the world know you cannot kill an American without impunity. We will stand up for our people, and that is an absolutely essential message. But now, what will change Iran's calculation? How we respond. They're going to come after us with a vengeance if we do not reset the table pretty quickly. And if I were the president, I would put on the table targets in Iran, not Iraq and Syria. Economic targets that would crush the economy. The maximum pressure campaign has worked. What would take it to the next level would be destroy the ability of the Iranians to refine oil and sell it. The oil refineries are the last thing they have in terms of an economy.
Senator Nancy Pelosi, she said that tonight's airstrike risks provoking further dangerous escalation of violence America and the world cannot afford to have tensions escalate to the point of no return. Ilhan Omar is saying that this was a conspiracy theory, that the president just wants distraction from the impeachment trial. And then Adam Schiff says the world is better off without Soleimani, but Congress didn't authorize the attack. What's your response? Do you think Congress should have made the decision, or the president should have consulted Congress?
The last group of people you want to talk to about this is Democrats in Congress, Republicans in Congress, okay? As to Omar, this is not a distraction. What President Trump did is save thousands or hundreds of American lives and our allies. The attacks that they were planning against American interests were real. The rocketing of the compound, killing the contractor, was foreshadowing of what was to come. To all those Democrats who are criticizing the president, I was aware of what his options were. They were about to unleash holy hell on our people in Iraq and throughout the region, and the president decisively took action. Now, how do you prevent this from really going bad? You've got to put on the table quickly, in my view, the consequences of retaliation by the Iranians. They got to know what comes next. We took out the number one military mind of Iran. Okay, the next thing we need to put on the table is the number one economic engine of Iran is the oil refineries. The president has to convince the Ayatollah that if he retaliates, our response will be greater than the market will bear.
I just want to intervene there. You might notice that Senator Lindsey Graham is pretty much the same constitution as Trump. They're not seeking out war. The strike was designed to prevent further attacks and danger, let's say, real imminent danger to American lives on the ground in Iraq. To prevent that from happening. That's what it was. And Soleimani, you talk about Iran. How many times has Iran threatened nuclear violence? How many times have they been sanctioned by the U.S., by the UN and so on, ignored it, continued pursuing nuclear weaponry? Anybody who studies the Middle East knows that right now Iran is a terrible power and a great potential threat to their neighbors, to their own citizens, and to the world, particularly the United States, but also Israel and many other countries. All I have to say is, it is pathetic for Pelosi and Schiff, and I'm happy that Fox brought them on so that the American people could see how they defend the enemies of the United States, that they themselves are condemning Trump for essentially protecting American lives and future attacks. This is like the... a deterrent is an excellent word for it, because it's not like you're seeking out to destroy your enemy. It's more like a move ahead of the destructive move your enemy will make, so to speak. It's a tactical move. But what I what I saw on December 3rd was Trump makes a big blow to Iran for blatantly disregarding the power of the United States, but it's deeper than that. The attack on the U.S. Embassy by so-called protesters, I don't think that was an accurate term. I think it was very much deliberate. But essentially what Trump is trying to show is that you cannot attack Americans with impunity anywhere. And as the President of the United States, it is well within his prerogative to strike back the enemy of the U.S. And the fact that the Democrats are trying to find any loophole whatsoever to try to poke holes in it, that's pathetic, and it's treasonous as well. I look at it as the president protecting American lives. That's why this guy is dead. Iranian general, in the past, what they never talk about in the press is how much intelligence that the U.S. actually can gather on somebody who is, if they really want to, you know what I mean? Like, God knows how big the archive on this particular guy is, since he's become a military general, or maybe even before that. You don't know how many years and years of intelligence they have on Soleimani. But what you do know is Iran is a very grave threat at this moment. Okay? A nuclear threat. It's not a joke. It's very, very, very serious. A nuclear threat and a destabilizing force in the region. A force like a chaotic force. They talk about how they're creating unrest in Iraq, and that Iran essentially wants to absorb Iraq for the potential of securing oil, and so securing economic funding and power, essentially. Money to build weapons, money to wage war. That's what Iran is doing. So what Trump did is a statement on multiple levels. Number one, it's a statement that says the U.S. will retaliate against you if you so much as attack any American personnel or property. Another message he's saying is that we will severely cripple you. That's one way of putting it. Severely cripple your efforts to attack Americans at the highest level, you could say. Like as Senator Graham put it, the Ayatollah is the next level. That's the leader, right? But this is the military arm, the right hand of the Ayatollah to attack, his military hand. So to say that Soleimani is a very grave threat is real. That he's dangerous, extremely dangerous. You can go on that it's a terrorist-run state and so on. It's a very dangerous country. But essentially what Trump is trying to do is he wants peace. I believe him in that intent. And to strike a big blow so that you can cripple your enemy's further efforts. And I do believe that it's not just the one threat. Like, if Iran seeks to get vengeance, I have no doubt the next salvo the Americans do will be very great. It will be extremely crippling to them. An economic strike, yes, to the oil sands would be most likely. Pardon me, oil, their oil fields, pardon me. So, one needs to analyze it more carefully than just somebody died. It's much deeper than that. A commanding force for the potential of a very great threat to the world was destroyed by Trump. That's how you need to look at it. I look at the Canadian press. The Canadians are trying to frame this, especially on the National Post here that I was reading. The general, let's call it atmosphere that they want to create in the article is that Soleimani was killed by a tyrant, Trump. They're trying to say that that he is like an innocent man, or frame him in that way. I can't understand the Canadian press. We should be close allies with the United States, brothers, in fact. Right here at the top, they have Joe Biden. Everybody knows about Joe Biden. You know, the fact that they're representing him already stinks of Democrat influence and money behind this article. And as you read on, you know, it's just pathetic how biased this article is against the United States, against Trump. They frame it as though they killed innocent victims, innocent people. They're not innocent. Soleimani is a great criminal, a murderer, like genocidal murderer. Many people died. How many people? Thousands under his orders. His own countrymen and Americans as well. And God knows from how many other countries that he's murdered, that have been murdered under his watch. So when I tell you, this is, in many ways, the United States is holding back. It's more like it's a political statement, and it's a military strategic statement that we can take out, you know, somebody of that kind of prominence, you could say, but also somebody of that kind of power. To show you, to attack the U.S. is at your peril. I remember under Barack Obama, American soldiers were being captured and held to ransom. U.S. warships were attacked with impunity in Chinese waters. I remember an American warship that had a massive hole in the hull from being essentially crashed into. The narrative that I'm fighting now is they're trying to direct the attention away from the Chinese and say, oh, it was an innocent accident. No, it wasn't. There was a lot of deliberate attacking of American ships by merchant vessels or you know, pirates even, all kind of things going on. And Obama refused to defend Americans in that moment. Refused. He let the power of the U.S. diminish into nothing. The red line in the sand is an empty threat. All the Middle East knew, the Chinese knew, the Russians knew. America's so weak. Even I am Canadian. I looked at it, I feel so bad for the U.S. that their American lives are unnecessarily put in jeopardy because of the inactions of Obama. He literally made the U.S. weak. Militarily and the reputation of the U.S. abroad. It was just pathetic. So now Trump strike with a heavy blow. And you know, this, I tell you, he is intent on peace. What he wants is Iran to stabilize and to move away from nuclear armament and nuclear aspiration for nuclear weapons. That's what he wants. He wants Iran and Iraq to be like, kind of like the way Saddam was running it, but without the dictatorship. Like, he wants them prospering. We want business, not war. That's Trump. It's peace, right? Peace is good for business. You know, God knows how if they would just let go of their radicalized theme going on there, that what they could accomplish if they actually tried to make business instead of war. But make peace first. You know? It's a tragedy. Iran is intent on destroying everything around it. And now Trump tried to put the house in order, more or less. Or remind them of their place. We'll put it like that. I believe that Donald Trump wants peace. That's what I take away from it. And it might be a far statement to say that, looking at this hunk of metal, but really, if you look at how dangerous an enemy Soleimani was, then I think in Trump's position, any rational person behave the same. If your countrymen are, well, actually, if your soldiers are deeply threatened in the way that they talk about, because the way that Senator Graham said, it's like they were preparing a massive strike against the U.S. on multiple areas. So you will stand there like what Pelosi wants and let the Iranians attack you? I don't think so. Trump is not that kind of person. Trump will protect Americans first. Look at Hillary Clinton. We don't have to remind you of that. Benghazi, she let all those people die, despite, I think, 3 days of warning. Get something over there to reinforce those men or pull them out. And they all died. Benghazi was a complete ignorance of information that Hillary Clinton had at the time to act under Obama. I might add again, under Obama. And refused to act. Refused. She let all those people die unnecessarily. And here we go, Trump. Trump will show them how Americans being attacked, that's a no-no. Don't do something like that, or beware of the consequence what happened. So all I can say is that Trump does want peace, sincerely. They're already in talks with the Ayatollah, to see if we can straighten things out. If they want to move toward thoughts of revenge, well, then there's an answer for that as well. And but there is consequences for attacking the U.S. And, Trump is trying to rebuild the reputation of the U.S. Actually, I would say even in more ways, the U.S. is fulfilling the role that the Canadians should be doing. They're actually the peacekeepers right now. The Canadians aren't doing anything. I feel embarrassed to say it, but, essentially, Trump is trying to restore the reputation of the U.S., but also that's like a subcategory. It's foremost to protect American lives. Thank you very much for your attention, and I bid you a good day. Thank you.